to start.
Okay.
So if you want to read the housekeeping, and then we can just move into Margie starting her comments.
Okay, here we go. Welcome to our first ever live stream Grandmothers Against Gun Violence program meeting. I'm so excited to picture all of your faces out there joining in. And I'm going to take care of just a few housekeeping details before we start. If you're an attendee, you won't be on video and your audio will be muted until we get to the question and answer part. There is a written question and answer feature. It might be at the bottom of your screen, or if you're on an iPad, it might be at the top right-hand corner. And if you have any problems with that, you can refer to our tech help who was listed in the email, Dylan, and his phone number. We'll have a question and answer session at the end where all the presenters will be available to answer questions, and they will also be answering questions by text as we go along, so you'll see those. So with that, I'm going to turn it over to our fearless leader, Margie.
Oh, thank you, Barb. And I add my welcome to everybody. I am Margie Heldring, the co-chair, along with Judy McBroom of Grandmothers Against Gun Violence. And we are really honored to have the program today that you are about to hear. But I would like to say that we are in the midst of something so painful, so real, so profound, that I'd like to ask that we begin with a moment of silence, that we remember and honor the lives of George Floyd, Breonna Taylor, Ahmaud Arbery, and all the Black women and men killed by police and others in acts of racial violence. Please join me in some silence. Thank you. Thank you very much. Grandmothers believes in showing up, standing up, and speaking up. While our work focuses on gun violence prevention, we are equally committed to racial justice and safe communities, to keeping real the words Black Lives Matter. We believe that the imperative to learn and grow together has never been as deep and widespread as it is now. And while this moment is so heavy, it is also heavy with promise. I hope we can all work together to make that promise live. But I'd like also to begin with some welcomes, thank yous. First, a welcome to our friends from Grandmothers Against Gun Violence on Cape Cod. We are so delighted that some of you are joining us today. Grandmothers on Cape Cod began the same time grandmothers out here began, independently of each other, but we've become good friends and good fans over the years. I'd also like to really thank Kathleen McLaughlin and Barb Anderson and the entire program committee for your inspiration and your hard work and bringing important educational and inspiring experiences to all of us. I'd really like to give a shout out today to the Alliance for Gun Responsibility, to Logan for making this software available for understanding the benefits we experience with your technological aid and helping us do a Zoom. It is wonderful. I hope many of you were able to attend the Alliance luncheon last week. And if you weren't, stay close to the Alliance and show your support, please, to the Alliance. We benefit all year long in so many ways from their great support to us. So it is a great honor today for me to turn the program now over. And we are going to learn a lot about common purpose. I know many grandmothers are deeply involved in common purpose and have been to states such as Florida, Michigan, Texas, Kentucky, I hope. Well, I don't know about Wisconsin, and participate in the panels and lectures that David Domke does. So I'm proud to introduce Maria Abando from Common Purpose. And Maria has many functions there, as we all do in nonprofits. We jump from job to job, but it is a delight. So Maria, welcome, and thank you for being here.
Oh, thank you so much, Margie. And thank you everybody for being here today and for giving us the opportunity to share a little bit about what we do. Like Margie said, my name is Maria. Let's see, I'm from Tacoma, but I live in Seattle now and presenting to you from my living room in Queen Anne. And normally, when we do these types of presentations with organizations or in our community, and especially for those of you who've worked with us before and know us, you would probably be expecting one David Domke to be starting us off today. David is our founder. He's on the leadership team. A lot of folks know him from our lectures and other events that we do. But I wanted to make the point today, especially as Margie led us off with that moment of silence, of just recognizing that we're in a really tough time. And our leadership team got together and decided that today it would be even more impactful if you're able to hear from the younger leaders, the people of color that are in our team today. This is some of us, not all of us, but some of us. And then also the women. So sorry, Charles, but being joined here with with MJ and Larsa, who are on our team, it's really important to be able to center these voices right now and make sure that we are able to have a platform and that we can be heard. So I appreciate you guys giving us that space. And I know you understand as well, especially with being able to center the voices of women, because I've had the opportunity to go and look on your website. And I know that Grandmothers is, you're saying that you're open to all genders and folks of all background. But y'all a bunch of women getting it done. Like, I see it and I'm inspired and filled with pride and gratitude for being able to be on my journey, knowing that I'm walking in a path that was cleared for me by other women who have been in this work for years. So I just wanted to say thank you for that. Like I said, we've got Charles Douglas, Larsa Douglas, and Maria Jimenez, who goes by MJ, here from our team. And I'm going to go ahead and pass it off to Charles to give us a little bit of an introduction about CP. And then I'm going to come back after that and talk to you guys about the things that make us who we are and how we do the work that we do. And then we will be passing it to MJ so she can talk to you about community and a little bit about her story. And then over to Larsa so that we can talk about how to get exactly involved right now. We'll be pulling up our website, going through it, showing you exactly how to get engaged, and talking about how our work converges and crosses over and how we really are all in this together. So thank you all so much. Gonna pass it to Charles to introduce Common Purpose.
Thanks, Maria. I'm really happy to be here. Bert, she's not a panelist right now, but I have to say her name because she is somebody that we love. You see MJ over here, Maria Jimenez, is lighting up because that's her Florida partner. I have heard about this group through Bert. I've known about it before this, but I've heard about the work, the good on the ground work that y'all do, and it's a pleasure to finally join you in some way. And I'm happy to be here. I, as the male from CP, I will be here to speak the least and to support only when asked, as I did this morning to join this call. Short introduction to CP. We were started in 2018 as a grassroots organization. A bunch of volunteers got together because we were fed up and wanted to know what to do next. 2018 was the midterms, and so we coalesced around forming teams that would travel to these swing states and affect change in progressive politics around the country. When it was formed on March 3rd, 2018 for the first meeting, we thought there'd be 50 people there. Turns out there were 200 folks that were committed to doing the work. And we launched with something much bigger than we thought it would be. And in 2019, we all left our jobs and joined up full time. So Maria left a job at a nonprofit. I left a job at Starbucks. Larsa was working with the city of Seattle, and MJ came on soon after, and later that year, working on a campaign actually. But we left our jobs to do this work because we're so committed to this change. And now we are 20 states strong. We've got over 2,000 volunteers. We've got 1,000 individual donors that most of them are volunteers also, no corporate donors. And we've got this grassrootsy spirit still, with all eyes towards this election and every election after this. Maria is going to talk about the principles of the organization, but we did not join just for the midterms. We didn't join just for 2020 either. We would have just volunteered if that's what it was. We are here because we realized that what happened in 2016 was that we all took our eye off the ball after Barack Obama became president. We thought that we had changed the world, and we didn't. What was laid bare was that change takes constant work. It's not just a thing that you achieve and then you finish. It is constant work by everyday folks like us. And so we are here for 2020. We are really focused on 2020. And we are focused on 2021 and 2022 and 2023. The big races that you hear about around the country and the small ones that you've never, ever heard about. We are here for the long run. We're not just here for campaigns. We are here. And that's why these folks that you see here they're staff. They're full-time staff that are paid because we're investing in the future. So I feel like I've already talked too much. I'm just really, really excited about CP. Really. I'm the biggest fanboy for CP. So that's why I was invited to this, because I'm just a huge fan, especially these folks that are around me here. Maria, take it from me, please.
Thanks, Charles. We appreciate you. And also, you're absolutely right. Shout out to Bert, who's also one who ceded her time so that we can be here today and talk with us. And all of the other folks, I could just go on a list of all the folks that I know that are in grandmothers that are crossover with CP. We see you all, we love you all, and thank you so much. So I'm gonna go ahead and share my screen here. And what I wanna do to get started of introducing our work, and those of you who know us, this is gonna look super familiar to you. I just want to talk about really quickly these three pieces that you see on the screen here. Hopefully, Charles, give me a thumbs up if you see it. Yep, okay. That make up our common purpose way. It's who we are, it's our guiding principles, it is the center of everything that we do. And when I've been having conversations and people have been asking me, how are you able to continue to be doing the things that you do in the middle of COVID? Because we are an organization that started knowing that we were going to be traveling, that we were going to be doing voter registration and voter mobilization work in swing states across the nation. And that means traveling to do that. And obviously we're in a time where that's not possible. So when people are asking me, how are you still adding all these programs? How are you still able to do all of this? Well, we've got these three pieces that make us who we are. And these pieces lead us. If we want to add other things, other programs, and they don't hit these three pieces, the leadership team will decide not to do them. These things are really, really central to who we are. So just to talk about them a little bit here, starting with that mindset. That mindset and green is what really brings people into the work. It's that we believe that our democracy should be just and inclusive, and that we have a responsibility to make it so by taking action. And there's lots of reasons why our democracy is not as just and inclusive as it should be, right? There's the voter ID laws, voter roll purges, the closing of voting sites, the losing of ballots. I don't know if I said gerrymandering, all kinds of voter suppression tactics. And most often those voter suppression tactics affect and are strategically targeted to impact certain communities. That's communities of color, that's young people and the elderly, and that's poor people as well. And I'll be really honest, the majority of our common purpose community doesn't fall into those categories. We're majority white, we are majority retired, we're majority folks who have the civic resources like education and money and time to be able to do the traveling or to volunteer and to be a part of this really wholeheartedly. And so we recognize that because we do have those privileges, we do have a responsibility to help those folks who don't have the same privileges as us. Another great example of that is just for those of us in Washington State, just how easy it is for us to be able to vote in comparison to some of the other states. We've got mail-in, pre-postage paid ballot. We've got a huge early voting period. All of that happening, even with a Republican Secretary of State, our ability to vote is easy. And so it's our responsibility to help in other states and help other folks, even here at home, who don't have the same privileges as us. And we have to take action to do it. We cannot continue to just sit and watch the news and be angry, shaking our fist at it. We have to take action in order to do something about it. And that's the mindset we all come in about. And then there's that mojo piece in purple on the right there. And this mojo piece, it's funny, when we first said mojo, I was like, I don't even know what this word mojo is, but it's our special sauce. It is this thing that makes us unique. It is the piece that often makes people stay. If you come in for the mindset, you often stay for the mojo. And it's that we do this work together in community and in teams, and that we prioritize and amplify next generation leaders through this whole process. So since all of you have been doing a lot of this, writing to your legislators, or advocacy work. I'm sure a lot of you have volunteered before, registering voters or knocking doors, and you might show up at your staging location or with the organizer, and they give you a list of people to contact, and then they're just like, good luck, have fun, let us know how it goes. And so you go out, maybe you're knocking doors and people aren't super nice, or you're getting a lot of people hang up on you. We can understand that the work on its face isn't super appealing, and that sometimes you can have difficult experiences and difficult conversations, that can be heavy, that can be hard to keep going if you're going alone. And in Common Purpose, you're never going to be going alone. That's core to who we are. We're always going to have a partner if you're out canvassing, doing that work. You're always going to be going in a team in general when you're traveling. The team is going to get together before you go. You're going to travel as a team. You are going to learn together as a team. You're going to stay in the same hotel or same area together as a team. You're going to eat together as a team. And all of this builds community It allows us to be able to learn from each other, to commiserate together things that are tough, but also celebrate together for wins and things that went well. And also to help us keep moving further together. This is something Charles likes to say, and there's a proverb that if you want to go far, you go alone. But if you want to go further, you go together. And that's what we're about, doing it together, talking to people, and being in community and doing it in teams. And the second piece there is prioritizing and amplifying next generation leaders. This piece is so important because if we're talking about going further, that's talking about, not just being in it for this election. It's about being in it beyond 2020. It's about the elections down ballot and the elections after this as well. And if we want to be able to be in it for all of these elections and hopefully be electing leaders that represent all of us in America, that means that we need to be intentionally making space and doing work to build a pipeline of leaders that are experienced, that have had opportunities to engage in this work, and that also come from diverse backgrounds and come from diverse perspectives, right? But we also know that those opportunities to get involved for young people and people of color sometimes aren't as easy if you don't have the same resources. And there can be barriers to participation. And I'm somebody who knows that firsthand, because when I graduated from the University of Washington in 2017, all I wanted to do was be an organizer. I wanted to work on campaigns and see how I can affect change in my communities. And I did for a second. As soon as I graduated, I got a job on a campaign, thought it was what I wanted to do. But I'll tell you, those hours are long. They're everyday hours, long hours. The pay is very small. There are no benefits. You don't get, health care or health insurance, and there's no retirement. Once the job is over for the election cycle, there isn't a clear path forward unless you really are connected and know people on the next campaign in order to move through this space. And so it can be often difficult for people if you don't have those resources to be able to stay in the work. And I wasn't able to. I thought that I couldn't, and I got a job in a nonprofit and thought that was it. But Common Purpose, intentionally making that space, whether it is in our staff, whether it's in the state captains that lead the teams that go out, our interns, all throughout our community, we intentionally make space to prioritize and amplify diverse next generation leaders so that we can have those opportunities, so that we can be in this work, and that eventually we'll move on to be able to apply those skills, whatever they are, in the civic space, and know that it is a space for us as well. This is a core important part of who we are, and both of these pieces in Mojo are a real reason that I chose to stay. And that last piece, mobilize, that is our work. We are registering and catalyzing voters in key states. We know that this is the work that is going to allow our voices to be heard. This is the work that is going to make sure that folks are educated about what's going on in their communities, and that they're able to understand what's on the ballot and the folks that they're going to have the opportunity to vote for. And this is how we can participate right now. But we don't just go to another state as a group and say, hey, we're here in Texas and we are here to register voters, and we're going to find some voter registration forms and we're just going to knock some doors. That is actually illegal in a lot of states if you're just doing that alone. You have to be connected to a partner organization or an organization on the ground that has already been registered to do this work. So that's what we do. We connect and have partnerships with organizations on the ground in every state that we work in. We don't go unless that partnership is strong. We don't go unless that partner organization wants us to go. We don't go if that partner organization doesn't have the resources to handle sometimes maybe a 50-person team that is showing up. And when we go, we let that partner organization lead on strategy, on when and where we're going to be doing things. We let them lead because they know best. It's their communities. They are going to be there long after our teams lead. We want to make sure that the work that we're doing is what they want and is sustainable for them. That respect that we have for these partner organizations is the reason that they keep wanting us back and keep asking us to come back and help, because we're providing a surge of volunteer power for them, oftentimes in places where the volunteers are tired and exhausted and have been fighting for these things for much longer than we have. So we kind of metaphorically take off our common purpose shirts and put on the shirts of our partner organization when we show up. And it's really our boots and their ground. That is the work that we do. And then that's, again, pre-COVID, and we were able to travel. But we're going to talk about here a little bit as well, all of the ways that we're still able to do this work remotely too. But these are the pieces that make us who we are. These are the pieces that guide us in everything that we do, and really just kind of summarize us pretty generally, which is why I love to share it. But I'm going to go ahead and stop sharing because part of that mojo of centering and amplifying next generation leaders means making sure that we have programs. We have a whole CP Next program that's specifically focused on millennials' engagement in this work. And one of the leaders in that program who actually started out with us full-time with CP on one of these CP Next trips in Virginia is MJ. And MJ is going to talk a little bit here about her story and how she got in. So I'll pass it to you, MJ.
Thank you, Maria. Thank you so much for having us. I am honored to be here, especially because my amazing partner, Bert Greenwood, is here and is present, and I'm so excited to be here. I've also had the privilege of listening to a lot of the work that you've done before and the work that you're doing now, and it's amazing, and I'm really happy to be here. As Maria was saying, I joined Common Purpose in the fall of 2019, and honestly, I couldn't have like landed on a job that was more perfect for me than this one. Coming out of grad school, I went to the University of Washington to get my master's in social work, and I left school and I got a job as a campaign manager in the city of SeaTac for the race for city council. And two of the candidates there won, which is amazing, and I'm proud to say that. But it's just great to see that people of color were able to gain those seats, and now their voices are being heard, and they're able to connect with their communities and are able to really bring about change in those communities. So that was great experience. And then one day, Common Purpose shows up to one of our Canvas days, and I am literally recruited by Larsa Douglas and Bert Greenwood that very morning. And basically from there, things really did change for me in a very positive way. I ended up, like Maria was saying, going to Virginia with them in the fall and got hired right after that. And it has been such a pleasure and honor to be working with these three and the rest of our team. The work that we're doing right now definitely reflects my values as a person, and it reflects what I wanted to do in my professional, in what I wanted to do as a professional. And it's been incredible to see. I think that it's funny because I think that sitting here and being here reflects the values of common purpose, and we reflect the values of common purpose. I really believe that. It says that we amplify the voices of young leaders, and here we are sitting here talking to you all and talking about how these values and how the work impacts all of us, and how it's going to impact our communities across the country, and also here in Washington. As an immigrant myself, it's been an honor to be able to travel and be able to connect with those communities on the ground. I've had experiences that I wouldn't change for anything. I'm also a lead of one of the states that we have traveled to, and it's Florida. And my co-lead happens to be Burt Greenwood, and she is an amazing partner, amazing co-lead. And we've done amazing work there. We were one of the very few teams that were able to travel this year. And it's such a fortune that I was able to do that. And it fueled me. And I feel like that's why this work around this time when we can't travel has really been something that that fuel that Florida gave me is still in me. And I'm still able to feel like this is such an important work, even through these hard times. We're all going through very hard times, but I feel like this is so important to be able to move forward, right, with policies and the work that we will trust our representatives and our state officials and our hopefully president will do better for us in the future. So this work is definitely reflective of who I am and reflective of what I want to do in the future. Change the world little by little with this work. As Maria mentioned, we do have a whole program where we amplify those voices of young leaders. We connect with young people through this RCP Next program, which is meant to engage more young people in this work. And in this work, what I mean is the voter registration, get out the vote. When I was in Virginia, I saw that play out so beautifully with the people that we went to with. It was a group of about 23 young people working on the ground in Virginia, we knocked around, I believe, almost 2,000 doors over the course of like 4 days. It was incredible, and I really believe that that's the work that needs to continue to happen. And I want to say that I'm really proud of Common Purpose because we were able to make that transition from not being able to travel to having all these opportunities where people are able to do work from home. And I think that's incredible. And our community, our mojo, as Maria was saying, has not been lost. We've been able to connect with one another. We have very frequent meetings with our community. We are able to say, hey, how are you? But also, hey, it's time for us to do the work and continue that work that we started in the beginning of the fall last year. And so it's been great to see how our community has been so committed to sorry, I saw a message here that it says, can you all hear me well? Okay. Committed to the work, and it's been incredible. We have work in Arizona, we have work in Georgia, we have work in Maine now. We're gonna have a lot of work here in Florida real soon. I'm also leading a Spanish team very soon here to do work in Florida, and that's something that I'm very proud of because, and as an immigrant, as a Latinx immigrant, this work is so important. My community is one of those communities that Maria was mentioning that is very disenfranchised, lots to do with gerrymandering and lots to do with voting suppression, and being able to be here and being able to support my community, the communities, the Latinx communities across the country, is also such an honor and such a pleasure. And I'm really feeling lucky that I'm able to do this in the midst of all that's happening. I know that a lot of people lost their jobs, haven't had an opportunity to work in a long time, don't get to do this. And I feel privileged in that way, but also recognizing that privilege is not something that I can say a lot of my peers, the people that I know, are privileged to have. So I want to share that feeling of, you matter, your voice matters, and bring them on. And that's what I'm working on right now. I'm hoping and working on bringing on more people like me, that look like me, that can knock doors and say, hey, your voice matters, and this is why, and look at me, I can do it, you can do it. So that's definitely something that I've had really the privilege of doing, to be able to represent my community in a very positive way. And I'm going to keep doing it. And I'm inviting you all to, if you have a friend or someone or a young person who is Latinx, who you think would be interested in joining that team, to email me or, reach out to all of us. I'm really excited. I'm really happy to be here, like I said, and I hope that you all join us in this fight, because we can't do this alone. We have a lot of community already in this fight, but I think that the more the better. There's no cap in like how many people can join Common Purpose, and there will never be a cap. And we will invite everyone who is willing and I want to say is down and willing to be okay with those values, because we don't, we want those values to be representative of our community. And if you're not okay with amplifying the voices of young leaders, if you're not okay with being able to step back and not take leadership from our partner orgs, then unfortunately this might not be the case for you. But we invite anyone who is willing to be open and be led by young people. And yes, thank you so much. And I believe it's Larsa here. Larsa, I'm gonna head it over to you.
I'm gonna actually pass it to Charles. Sorry about that, MJ.
Oh, okay, never mind.
I was feeling you. I was with it and everything you were saying, girl.
So I'm gonna go over just a few ways to get involved here. I'm gonna share my screen. I'm gonna show off the website here. I know a lot of y'all are fired up and ready to go, and so we're gonna answer some questions, and we're gonna keep talking about CP. But while we do that, I want to give you something to look at, so you can pull this up on your own after this. But this is our website, cpnow.org. I'm pretty sure all the folks that are CP members have kind of blasted this out already to the full grandma's mailing list multiple times, but an quick overview of how to get involved. So on our landing page, what you'll see is most of the time our upcoming events or cool things for you to watch. So right now we've got a meeting that was, here's Team Florida, there you go. There's a Team Florida call that just happened where they talked about all the great work that Bert and MJ and past leaders of that team actually did. And so that's on YouTube. And then there's one from our Michigan team. And then we normally also have things that are coming up soon. So this is a good first place to look when you're checking on how to get involved with CP right away. There's also, this is our message on Black Lives Matter and what's been happening these past few days. It's a really, really good message. This image was actually taken by one of our young folks that's a part of our CP community at the Seattle rally. I want to highlight two areas. It's the advocacy initiative here on top and the national fieldwork tab. The advocacy thing is if you're looking for something to get started with, if you are new to the kind of work that we do, we'd like you to start here. So this is a really simple outreach to elected officials where you're just advocating for vote by mail across the country. We've identified 27 states, or we identified at the beginning of this, 27 states that we think need focus. And we walk you through all the steps of how to reach out to these folks. So as of now, we've actually got 500 volunteers working on this. And we've had 17,000 contacts out to elected officials of these states. We started in April with 27 states, and we've had 5 states already that are wins here on our map, where they have, since we launched this, shifted over to vote by mail for the fall. This is a level 1 complexity initiative. You'll see this around all the initiatives that we have that are volunteer opportunities, and they kind of give you an understanding of how difficult this is going to be. So if you're just getting started, you're going to want to look for these number ones. And then we go through each step. You know, this is, we want you to sign up on our sheet here. We want you to use this contact form to get all the emails and phone numbers and even Twitter handles of elected officials, and then go through the scripts and templates and message them in different ways. Really, really simple. And then you want you to log your activity here so that we can add you to the number at the top of the page. So that's our advocacy initiative. Again, if you're just getting started, this is a great place to start. National fieldwork is kind of our level 2 and 3 complexity things, and this is because you're reaching out to voters. It is really easy to reach out to an elected official. They are used to people reaching out to them. They have systems in place to intake this kind of thing. Reaching out to voters, many of you have done this already. It's kind of a mixed bag. If you're reaching out to folks that are going to agree with what you're saying, then it's really easy to have that conversation. If they may not agree, those may be some tougher conversations. If we know that it may be tougher, we'll let you know. So we've got an opportunity here with the League of Women Voters, and it is a level 2 complexity because they are reaching out to advocate for vote by mail. Really simple message, really great organization that I don't have to tell you that. They've been around for a very long time. It's a little more complex than the advocacy initiative because it has to do with another organization that you're working through. And there's a bunch of other organizations too. This one's specifically in Maine. We've also got work that's going on in Arizona, a little more complex. And then we've got 2 in Arizona because Arizona is a really, really important state. And we've got another one in Virginia. So this is just a preview. Go ahead and explore as we're talking, maybe, or on your own time. You can pull the site up on your phone. I also want you to go and take a look at the About page if you're learning more about who we are as an organization and the folks that make up our community. These are pictures of folks that are from our actual community. We don't use stock photography. We use images that our community takes of folks that are in it. And this because I'm proud of it. These are all the folks that make up our team. We've hinted at this before, but we are majority women-led and majority POC on purpose, not by accident. This is all intentional. This is our team. There's Bert, and there's Bert right there at the bottom again. Another shout out to Bert, bottom left. Okay, so I'm gonna now kick it to. So while you explore that, cpnow.org, I'm gonna kick it over to Larsa, who has really cemented our involvement in next generation leaders and finding them and cultivating them. I manage a lot of the work, and with MJ, we work on millennials who are folks that are in that like working professional life stage where they're building families and networks. But there are a ton of folks, as you know, in this country that are in the college age, and they're looking for some direction too. Larsa?
Good morning, everybody. My name is Larsa Douglas. I am the Business Operations Manager with Common Purpose. The cool thing about this organization is that we have an anchor role that we have to do really to make sure that our operations are running daily. But we also have a passion that drives us into projects that we want to explore within ourselves and how we contribute into the greater organization. And you've heard from the rest of our staff members on how easy it is to get involved. Some of you who are already involved with us probably can nod your head that it is easy, it is fun. You are in community with a lot of engaged folks. We are also seasoned community organizers. I have a background in nonprofit finance and also in the public sector. I've also done a lot of community outreach with our Filipino American youth youth communities out there, also done relief work internationally in the Philippines. So community organizing is not a foreign territory for a lot of us. And as many of you know, one of the hardest things about community organizing is one, recruiting volunteers and also getting them to move mountains. So we figured out some special formula that, one, we can recruit those volunteers, make it easy, make it fun, but little by little, we just decide to move hills, and that eventually becomes those mountains. Because as MJ mentioned earlier, and also probably a few of you have heard before, is that, you know, change does require just small, constant pressure. And so we are committed to making sure that we do what we can to push this agenda of change along. And I hope that maybe by seeing our faces, seeing and hearing, you know, where we're at in our lives, that you can recall what you are doing at our age and what you are still doing today to continue this fight. And eventually, I want you all to also know that we want to get there. We want to be grandmas and grandpas, and also looking for the next generation to continue this fight, to continue to support a just and inclusive democracy, to make sure that the future, you know, is preserved as best as we can, and that the young generation can benefit from it. You know, I have 2 boys and a baby girl, and you know, a lot of the things that we're seeing right now, really, it makes me cry and it makes me worried, and also inspired by in my 2 teenagers' ability to want to participate in protest, to want to participate in being active members of society themselves, because they know and have seen the model of what it takes to participate in our democracy. So before COVID, we had a lot of workshops. We had a lot of events where we were engaging everyone in one room, whether it was debate watch party, whether it was an introductory workshop, whether it was just advanced workshops where we're having tough conversations. And if there wasn't COVID, and you know, we were still kind of dealing with what we're dealing with right now with police brutality, with unfortunate deaths of George Floyd and you know, and Breonna Taylor, we would be having those conversations with each other in a community in one room. We are just shifting to this form due to COVID. So what are we doing now to engage our community? Well, first, if you haven't already, please sign up to our newsletter, because that spells out the many ways for you to get involved on a weekly basis. You get it from David. You get the insight of what we're doing strategy-based, and also opportunities that you can get engaged with us in community. We've started what we call these different Zoom clubs. So like a book club, but it's on Zoom now. So Maria's led a Zoom club that she's reading a book, and I've led discussions and conversations on Zoom, and we've done focus groups on Zoom, and we're doing all of these different fun things now to keep our community engaged. You know, many of us here have done podcasts to get the conversation going. We had a really fun series of nights we called Trivia Nights, and you know, it was a brainchild of Maria's. And it was just fun. It was a group of us that was, you know, 30 to 40 in one Zoom call. We were on teams, and we just answered a bunch of civic questions. And, you know, David and Charles were, you know, asking the questions, keeping score, keeping it fun and light, you know, in spite of what's happening right now. But there's so many ways for us to get involved in a fun way. However, we are anchored in action. Yeah, you can join the Zoom club with book clubs, and, you know, look at all of these different interviews we're doing on, you know, on this platform. However, we still need you to make those phone calls. We still need you to text. We still need you to letter write, because if you are not anchored in action, when you are entering these spaces of conversation, it just makes the conversation richer, because we have a level of standard of empathy that we understand what it takes to move through difficulty, to move through, you know, the conversation of, here's my thought, here's what we did with it, and here's how we're moving forward. And that is the formula that we've decided is best to have tough conversations. Here's my idea. Here's where I am. Help me through this. There are some words that I'm not able to regurgitate and to come out. Let me hear from you first. Maybe some of those words resonate. There's a lot of that right now in our Common Purpose community, and we encourage you to participate, to get involved, and also, share some of your wisdom with us. I know many of you are activists all throughout your lifetime, and we want to see what we have to look forward to. We want to see the different, avenues and different ways that maybe you've gotten involved, and share some of that wisdom back to us. So we said we want everyone to participate in democracy, be active citizens in society. And so we wanted to address really low barrier access points for everyone to get involved. We wanted participation in democracy in the same kind of habitual mind space as if you're going to the dentist. Because you have the right to go to your dentist. Yes, you do. But if you prolong it, there's some things that could happen down the road. So you can either participate now and make sure you're preventing some things. Anyway, that probably is not the best metaphor analogy, but it's the first thing that came to my head right now after a newborn baby sleep schedule, I should say. So, and anyway, so we're looking for always new connections, always new insight, always best ways to make this easy for everybody, all in support and anchored around a just and inclusive democracy. And I want to applaud and thank everyone who is, with this organization, with this group that have already been involved with us. And they probably shared some insight about how they have interacted with us and the organization. So it's all positive, thank you. It just is a testament to how we are building this organization. But I want to see some of the faces also eventually beyond the screen here, and always looking for opportunities to pass this information along, to share the knowledge that we have, because MJ mentioned earlier, we're in this together, and I think we all feel that, and we all have a part to continue to pull this, and we'll see you on the other side.
Right. Thank you, Larsa. So I know that we have already taken up so much of your time, and we're really, really grateful for the space to be able to talk with you today. But I really want to also acknowledge and recognize that you're probably wondering, what does this have to do with gun violence? What does all of this have to do with gun violence? How can we, as folks who are activists in this space, make a difference in the voting space? How do these two things connect? And how can we work together? Well, like I mentioned in the beginning, this is a converged fight. Our work does support each other. I got a chance to look and see that all of the work that grandmothers are doing, you are having conversations with each other, educating each other about gun violence. That's what we're doing about voting. You are donating to organizations that are working against gun violence, and folks in our community are doing the same. You're talking to your peers, your community, you're testifying, you're tabling, you're advertising. And another thing that I saw was writing to your legislators, right? That's exactly what we are doing as well. And what we need, the whole point of our democracy is to be able to have leaders, elect leaders and legislators that can listen to us. When we can say that these are the things that our community wants, these are the things that our community needs, and that those legislators will listen, and that they will make laws that will help see those things take effect, and that will also have values that are also our values. We want them to have values that are our values. And if we think about it, we look right now across the nation, we know that with that presidency, with the Senate, we do not have leaders that have the same values as we do. Also, I just want to say, excuse my dog making a whole lot of noise. So you guys just wave at me if it's too hard to hear, something like that. But on the point of values, right? Last night, Charles and I and David were a part of another one of these Zoom meetings. And Charles and David kind of threw it to me at the end to kind of ask me, why are you in this? Why does it matter to you? And there are a lot of things that I could say. I love our mojo. I love our community. I love our work. I love that, we have the opportunity now to be able to create real change, real opportunities for young people to get involved, all of those things. But what actually ended up resonating with me and what I ended up saying last night is that lives are on the line for this election. Lives are on the line for this election. And that's at the border, where people are dying at the border. That is because people can't afford the medications that they need because of privatized healthcare. But you know what else it is? It's because of gun violence. It's because of gun violence. And that is why your work is so important. That's why we need you. That's why we want to make sure that you are able to connect with each other and be in community and stay in this fight and stay in this work and continue to lean on each other, to be motivated, to continue to contact those legislatures and help us vote people into office that will have those values and that will listen to us so that we can make change around this. Lives are on the line. And I personally know too well with the ways that gun violence can absolutely tear apart families and homes and communities. I've felt in my people in my family the scars of bullet wounds and wondered what would have happened if those bullets would have instead hit an organ. I've listened to my dad talk about when he immigrated here from the Philippines, he came with one of his best friends who he considered a brother. And he was really upset because that person that came with him found that America wasn't the place that he thought it was. He ended up putting a gun in his mouth in front of my dad and pulling that trigger, which caused my dad to have so much grief that our family ended up getting torn apart because of this. I've experienced and heard, like, in the middle of the night screaming outside of my window in Tacoma when the kid that I walked to the bus stop with to school is shot on the front lawn outside of our house across the street. It's screaming for help because he got into some things and it resulted in gun violence. I've experienced being afraid right now in this moment when I go out and run because Ahmaud Arbery went for a run and ended up getting gunned down in the streets. This is real, this is serious, lives are on the line, and we need you. We need you. We need your work in advocating for sensible gun laws. We need your work in helping us make sure that we can get people elected that will enact those laws, because we need you to help keep us safe. We do. So thank you so much. I know that we've got a couple questions here, and I know we've taken so much of your time. Let me see. You guys are also, if you see any questions that you feel like you can answer, jump in here. Okay, so are we familiar with the Movement Voters Project, and are we working with them and groups like them in key battleground states? Anonymous attendee, thank you so much. Yeah, we are familiar with the Movement Voters Project. Let me go ahead and share with you all our partner organizations. I don't believe right now we are working specifically with the Movement Voters Project, but we're definitely up to date and connected and see all the really good work that they are doing. If you ever want the opportunity to just see the other types of organizations, because I'm seeing some other people are asking about other organizations that we work with. You can find that on our website here on our partners. My dog is going in on that toy. All right, so all of our partners are here on this page. You can see that sometimes we work with the Democratic Party. Sometimes we're working with other nonprofits, other C3 and C4 organizations in these states to get our work done. And we have reasons for that. We don't always work with the Democratic Party because historically the Democratic Party has made some mistakes, and there are reasons why the communities that we're knocking doors in sometimes do not trust the Democratic Party because the Democratic Party tends to come into communities and say that they matter, that they want their vote, and then don't show up for another 4 years, right? When they want their vote again. Whereas a lot of these partner organizations are there working in these states every single day. So that's why we use the Democratic Party when strategically makes the most sense, but sometimes it doesn't make the most sense, and we work with these other partner organizations that are there more for the long term. All right, what other questions we got?
I would just let people know that they can use the little raise your hand tag in their toolbox at the bottom or at the top, and you can be unmuted to ask a question as well.
All right. Has Common Purpose connected with any of the leaders of the protesters of the Black Lives Matter movement? Anybody want to take that one? Charles, MJ? I know you guys were out protesting.
Yeah, I think everyone's been out. I think all members of our team have been out. I know Wale did some work with some of the leaders of some of the rallies. The interesting thing about the protests, and someone asked me about this, there's a lot of respect for the folks that run those protests. And one of the things that we are, and it's funny because we haven't actually talked about this as a leadership team. Like, this is our strategy, this is what we do. But if you look at our actions individually, this is what is shown up, is that there's a lot of respect for those folks, and that is their lane. That is their lane. So one of the things you haven't seen us do is try to show up as experts of any kind in protest organization or mechanics or anything. We believe that those are two sides of one coin. You know, that it does take agitation in the streets. It takes making folks uncomfortable with protests, and moving into places where you're not supposed to be, in the same way that, you know, sit-ins were effective back in the day. So, you know, that's something that they have worked really hard at. I think since 2016, there have been active folks in the streets leading those types of protest movements, and it's our job to participate as individuals, to not take any of their light, and then cement their hard work in the streets in real legislation and getting folks elected that represent their values as much as possible, and helping to create laws that affect the changes that they're asking for, that we're asking for too, but that they're really, you know, fighting for right now. So, you know, we support them, we augment them with our feet as individuals, and then we work on the same principles for improvements around the country.
Irene, did you have a question?
Yes, I was wondering if you could give some specifics of how we can get involved at home with these state campaigns that you've mentioned.
Right, so from home, if you want to go to our website, cpnow.org, .org, you'll be able to access what Charles was showing us a little bit earlier here, the different tabs for the different ways that you'd like to get involved. So if you'd like to get involved with the advocacy work, where we're calling the governor and the senators and the election officials in each state, calling, emailing, tweeting, and advocating for mail-in ballots, all of the signups, the scripts, the instructions, all of it is there on that tab. If you want to get involved with the national field work and the stuff that we're doing with partners to help them making calls and write letters, all in that tab as well. And there's also a tab for Washington work as well, as we have been registering people under the age of 50 and people of color along the I-5 corridor who are not registered in Washington state. And we are consistently trying to reach them and get them registered before the election as well. So those will be under those 3 tabs on the website. Very easy to sign up. All of the scripts, everything you need is on there. And if you've got any questions, reach out to us as well, and we'll help you through it.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, I want to put a finer point on that, just to clarify if there's any confusion. Everything that you see on our website that we highlight right now, either in this this event or on our website at the forefront, that's all remote stuff. We're not doing anything in person. All those contacts, all those volunteers that we're talking about that are active, every opportunity that we showed today, everything is remote. These are the things that we have developed, that we had to develop after we canceled or suspended all of our trips at the beginning of this year, or at the beginning of the coronavirus outbreak. So everything is built for remote involvement. There are community events that happen on Zoom now. Everything is all remote.
I wanted to quickly mention here that we actually have an introductory workshop coming up on Saturday, June 13th at 8:15 a.m. We also have a Facebook where we're posting all these events that are happening online. So if you want to join us for an introductory workshop, we will be talking about all these opportunities and kind of like where our focus will be next. So join us on Saturday, June 13th at 8:15 in the morning. If you go to our YouTube page, all CP, hello CP, Common Purpose as well. You can search it that way. It will show you our YouTube page, and that's where we will be live streaming. So join us, please, and learn more about who we are and the opportunities that we have remotely.
Thank you. Thank you.
Margie, did you have a question? I see another written question here, Maria. Do you want to take that?
Okay, so have we connected with indivisible, national and state groups? Because they have goals of changing the administration, turning the states blue. Yes, so many of our community members cross over with the indivisible groups. They really are doing a lot of great work, getting people together, doing a lot of the same work that we are. We've had indivisible organizers come to our workshops and speak, and we share opportunities sometimes. But again, the things that we do, our way and our mojo, all of those things are not always in the work that the indivisible groups do. They're not always prioritizing next generation leaders and letting them lead in a lot of these efforts, or prioritizing the community and doing things in teams and all of those things, doing them together. So we do see ourselves as a little bit unique, as a little bit separate in making sure that we have those intergenerational and diverse experiences as well in our work. But we have definitely shared opportunities before and have been in conversations on strategy so that we're not doing the same exact effort without having connected with each other as well. Let's see. And here we go with someone is asking, Lisa's asking that, it's hard for her to understand the reasons why mail-in voting has met with such resistance. Lisa, yes, right? Right? Like this confuses me so much too. And she's asking, is it primarily just a fear of change, or is it a control issue? Yeah, it's a tough one. I would say that it is a fear. There are two pieces that I would highlight, and if any of you guys want to jump in on this too. The first one is voter fraud, the myth of voter fraud, right? There are people that believe that if people can mail in, that somehow if you're not there in person, you can lie and you could be submitting all of these fake ballots and steal the elections. That's not true. We know that voter fraud is a myth, that it does not exist, and it's just a tactic to keep people afraid of that change and of making it easier for others. So a part of our work is helping make sure that we elect folks who are not continuing to spill those narratives about voter fraud. The other piece is that in some communities, there's a lot of pride, especially in older Black communities. There's a lot of pride in being able to go together for the polls. Communities have worked hard for it, that right, to be able to go to the poll. Especially the traditions of going on Sundays after church, everybody going together to the polls to be able to all vote together as a community event. So sometimes there's a lot of pride in that tradition. And what's important for us to remember is that we want to have mail-in, but if people want to go ahead and vote in person, go on ahead, right? It's about having that option if you don't want to go and do it in person, to be able to do that from home. So we are pushing for that option as a part of our advocacy, and we're not going to give up on it. We'll be doing this past 2020.
Margie?
I think the other thing I'd add to that is that any resistance to vote by mail is, or the organizational systemic resistance to vote by mail or greater voter access in general is actually purposeful. They know that if they make it easier to vote for folks that are traditionally disadvantaged when it comes to voting, then you'll get more folks that are people of color, younger people, lower income. It'll be easier for them. And those folks tend to vote our way. Donald Trump said it. He said that if we turn on vote by mail, Republicans won't win elections. He said that during a press briefing. So that shows why they then make up all these excuses, because they don't want to lose.
Other questions? Well, Maria, I want to thank you for sharing so personally with us today, and a big sincere thanks to each of our speakers, Larsa, MJ, Maria, Charles. Thank you so much for your tools and your inspiration that you've offered us today. And I want to hold on to that quote. If you want to go far, you can go alone, but if you want to go further, you need to go together. And I look forward to all of us grandmothers going further together in eliminating gun violence in all of our communities.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Barb.
Thanks,
Thank you, everybody.
Thank you. Well, our next section may feel a little bit incongruent with current events. These were moments that we were finding joy in during all of our time at home as we were isolating with the COVID virus. So I'm going to turn it over to Sarah now to share with you.
Hi.
Hi, Sarah.
Hello. So we were all in a lockdown from COVID-19 starting in mid-March, and we started thinking about what grandmothers are doing during that time. and how would we be able to find some type of joy while we were stationed at home. So these are slides that kind of show you what some of the grandmothers were doing during this time of the coronavirus. So we could start with our first slide. We are reading. We are finding books and finding joy in reading. And this grandmother who sent in her picture of books just happened to have the stack of books that was orange. And it really coincided because we know that last Friday was Wear Orange Day. And that day is commemorated in order to remember those that have been lost through gun violence, and to emphasize gun safety. So anytime we can promote the color orange, that's what we do in order to remind people of how important the loss of lives can be. Our next grandmother, this group, they wanted to support the medics and the hospital workers and all of the different support staff that is out there on the front line trying to make sure that people didn't get sicker. So we have this great picture of Barb and Vicky who are out every day or every week giving thanks and showing their support. And also Tucker takes this very seriously and he comes along with them also. Our next slide. We all have grandchildren, or most of us have grandchildren. And so this slide was really something that warmed our hearts. We were able to see Hazel's granddaughters. They took her out of the house for a little while, and the granddaughters came in. They made this beautiful picture with this heart, and they planted the beautiful pictures, beautiful flowers and daffodils. And they got the idea from the flowers that were planted at Ceasefire last fall. And when they came back, when Hazel came back to her condo, she saw this beautiful bloom of flowers. So joy is seeing hearts in blooms. Next slide. Well, our fearless leader, Margie, shows a lot of excitement by taking her dog on walks. And the faithful puppy dog, Clem, make sure that she gets out of the house, or was able to get out of the house during COVID-19, and to be able to take walks. And she's been to the Urban Horticulture Center, the Arboretum, Lake Washington Boulevard. And her biggest challenge is making sure that when Clem sees a rabbit, he doesn't go nuts and she has to run to keep up with him. So we had a great look at Margie and Clem with joy just with the puppy. Our next slide. It shows Kay, who is actually the president of our Grandmothers Against Gun Violence Foundation, enjoying the beauty of nature. And she likes to kind of get out, and these rhododendrons are from Volunteer Park. And Kay is an avid outdoors person. She loves camping and traveling and hummingbirds. And so to be able to get out and be an active force in our community, as well as to actively enjoy the beauty of nature, is really a great thing for Kay. And we're cultivating joy in the garden. And so Sue, who is an at-large member of the Gun Alliance and also served on our legislative committee for our board, is out in her very own garden. And this is kind of a spectacular look because we are seeing the wisteria plant. And she calls herself more of a garden putterer than a true gardener, but her biggest accomplishment this year has been making a mini vegetable garden, and it's already begun to harvest lettuce. So hopefully the other vegetables are not far behind. Many of the grandmothers found joy in sewing, and so they sewed many, many masks, and they used these masks to donate to others. The first batch of the masks were donated to emergency room doctors in our different hospitals in Seattle. They also donated to our community partners, community passageways, so that the youth would have masks, because we noticed at first a lot of the youth weren't wearing masks. And they've been sewing in order to donate all of these different masks so that our other people that are in our communities can be safe. And we have another grandmother who found a lot of joy in sewing. Susan took up free mending. So she started using her sewing machine, and people have been sending her pictures of things that they need fixed. If she can fix it, she sends for it, and she's been getting mail where people are asking her to mend socks and mend a rip and a tear and a button. And so she's found a lot of joy in keeping herself busy by mending the clothing and things that other people have requested. She's a longtime GAV member, and she's done a lot of work with us, and she's even getting close to men from out of state. So hopefully this won't publicize too much that she gets overwhelmed, but it's a way to keep her busy. Cheryl Kay is all on the board of the Grandmothers Against Gun Violence Foundation, and she's overjoyed at the number of donations that GAGVF received during the Give Big time, that we were able to get a lot of money and donations that will go towards the foundation, and the foundation's money goes to support education and research on gun violence, gun responsibility, and gun safety. She lives in the Mount Baker area, and she's one of the founding members of the Grandmothers Against Gun Violence. So there's a lot of Susans in this video, in this slide presentation. But this Susan actually joyfully discovered ways to bake a variety of delicious loaves of bread. And she's been real excited about trying to get different types of flour. We had a kind of a flour shortage. We had a yeast shortage. So she's experimented with all different ways that she can bake bread. And she and her husband have attended the Alliance for years. Her daughter is a local ER doctor, and she has also been the recipient of some of the face masks that we have distributed as grandmothers during this time. And as a result of her hard work, a wonderful, wonderful fresh loaf of sourdough bread. And that brings us kind of a joy. Judy, who is now the co-chair of the Grandmothers Against Gun Violence, is with her grands. And so they decided to bake and decorate an enjoyable birthday cake. And it kind of shows how much fun you can have when you're just doing things on your own instead of running out and getting a store-bought cake. They decided to put the whole thing together and had a great time putting that together. And any time you get to spend with your grands is joyful. We have a wonderful game that we are starting up, which is a bingo game for Grandmothers Against Gun Violence. And if you haven't downloaded your bingo game yet, you can download it at our website, grandmothersagainstgunviolence.org. And you can download the bingo game and you can play. It has a list of questions. And when you turn your completed bingo card in, you will receive a grandmother's grocery tote bag. That's really great. And so we have pictured here Brunetta, Andy, Donna, and Kathy. And they have already got their bingo game downloaded. And this is part of the membership committee, of which Donna is the chairperson of, the brainchild of the membership committee. So if you haven't downloaded your game yet, download it now. And you have until September to complete everything on it. And everyone who completes will receive a beautiful grocery tote bag. Next. Oh, I'm sorry, that was Zinda Foster in that picture. Okay, that was Zinda in that picture. I was looking at some other picture earlier. Okay, Winona is experiencing the joy and peace of music at home. And I'm surprised to see Winona at home because she's usually out and about and on the go, but she does like being at home and just having the peace of enjoying her music. Next. Another Susan, and she's sharing the joy and peace of music with her neighbors. Susan is a member of the Seattle Symphony. She also plays with a string quartet. And today she was out playing, or when this picture was taken, she was out playing her music with her fabulous violin and the neighbors who were able to come out and enjoy a concert. So she's sharing the joy and peace of music with her neighbors. And one of the most joyous joys of all, we have Suzanne and Henry. And Henry was born during the COVID-19 situation, and he was luckily able to be held by his grandmother. This is Suzanne's very first grandchild, and she put her orange shirt on, and he's dressed in his blue and orange, and he's already going to be a great warrior to help our country and to help us fight gun violence in the future. And so we can kind of identify with the joy of cuddling a young infant, and we can share in Suzanne's joy. This picture is taken from an app. And so some of the grandmothers were at home experimenting with the different apps, and they took a picture that we took, I believe was taken at the University of Washington when we were out sharing about grandmothers against gun violence. We were out sharing against grandmothers against gun violence, and at the Husky Stadium. And so we had a grandmother who found this app, I think it was Margie, and put the picture in, and it came up with this beautiful waterlog. So there are all kinds of ways that you were able to see that grandmothers enjoyed themselves and found joy in order to work for grandmothers in peace. I'd like to also, though, on our next slide, emphasize that we also were out doing a lot of different things in the community. We put together a program with Together Washington, and we donated over $4,000 to help provide food kits for the people that may be affected by COVID-19 through unemployment. We provided a resource card, which Winona is holding up, a resource card so that people who have issues or problems or just need places to get help can dial 911 or 211 or go get free testing, or have information on safe gun storage for if they have children at home, and different ways that we could do things so that we could be useful during this time. And we're really proud of the grandmothers that donated towards that, and to the organization that donated, and in addition donating masks and different things for the gun violence. We also were pretty active in getting out and going to the march. We especially attended the We Want to Live march. Many of the grandmothers who could not go to that march, Sue Carey and some of the other grandmothers actually came outside of their homes and honked, or drove near enough and stayed in their cars and supported the young marchers that were out there. And Winona was again out there with our Grandmothers Against Gun Violence community resources that are available for people, and that the foundation and the C4 all work together in order to put this card together, and it is going in every one of the food kits. And we talk about intergenerational. So I was able to attend the march with my daughter and granddaughter, and we were able to ask for justice for all of the different people that have lost their lives through gun violence. And they also had a very touching memorial fence that I didn't get a picture of, that had the pictures of different people in the Rainier Beach Central area and the Seattle community that have lost their lives to gun violence. And it was really touching to listen to the speakers and to hear what different people had to say about what was going on. And we are striving to make the world a safer place for all grandchildren everywhere. And these young warriors were able to hold this flag and march it all the way through that march that actually had 7,000 people that were attending that march. And I was hoping I had a picture of Beverly, who was also there, but I think maybe that picture is not here. But Beverly, who is on the board of Community Passageways and also our foundation vice chair, also attended the march. And I believe was one of the speakers. Thank you so much for attending our very first virtual meeting. We hope you benefited from all the speakers and from all of the different things that you had, and understand that even though we're going through a very difficult time, the work that Grandmothers Against Gun Violence is doing is extremely important, and we want to keep and continue to do that work in support of our communities. Thank you.